confused whether you have fibromyalgia or CFS? There's one key symptom that reveals the answer, and I'm going to show you exactly what it is. Because here's the thing, the symptoms overlap so strongly that even doctors get confused. Pain, fatigue, brain fog, sleep problems, they all blend together. But there's one specific symptom that separates these conditions, and it completely changes how you need to pace your day. So today I'm walking you through the real differences, the parts that aren't explained clearly, and most importantly, that key symptom that helps you understand your own body better. Before we dive in, a quick clarification. ME and CFS are considered one condition in the UK now, called ME/CFS. Historically, they were separate, but current guidelines group them together because fatigue and post-exertional crashes are the defining features. So when I say ME/CFS, I'm talking about that combined diagnosis. And of course, I'm not a doctor. This is based on lived experience, a lot of research, and what's currently understood. My aim is to give you the clearest, simplest explanation possible, grounded in what actually helps day to day. Okay, let's start by looking at the symptoms side by side, because when you see them laid out like this, you can immediately understand why these conditions get mixed up. That key symptom that I talked about, it's called post-exertional malaise, or PEM. And if you don't know what that means yet, don't worry, I'm about to break it down in detail straight after this table. So the first symptom that these conditions have in common is fatigue. Yes, fibromyalgia does have fatigue, but it feels different. In ME/CFS, the fatigue is severe, overwhelming fatigue that dominates every part of the day. The next symptom is muscle aches. In fibromyalgia, this is central and constant that the pain exists. In ME/CFS, it can happen, but it's not the main feature of the condition. The next symptom is sleep dysfunction. Both conditions have non-restorative sleep, difficulty staying asleep, and waking up tired. So cognitive issues are very common in both conditions, and sensory sensitivity is much stronger in fibromyalgia than in ME/CFS. It is possible in ME/CFS, but it's usually less intense. And then there's the crashes, the post-exertional malaise. Now in fibromyalgia, these are often immediate, or they can happen within hours. In ME/CFS, these can be delayed up to 24 to 72 hours later, so they're not necessarily immediate crashes. And in ME/CFS, they last much longer. And the last symptom that these conditions have in common are orthostatic symptoms, which is things like your heart rate, when you stand up, you get dizzy. In fibromyalgia, these symptoms can appear, but in ME/CFS, they are very common. And I'm going to talk much more about that in a moment. So seeing it like this already gives you a picture. The overlap is huge, but the dominant symptom tells you a lot. For fibro, pain leads. For ME/CFS, fatigue and crashes lead. So now let's look at that main symptom, the PEM, the post-exertional malaise. This is the part doctors rarely explain well. So post-exertional malaise is the key to ME and CFS. It's not just getting tired after doing something. It's not even having a flare. PEM is when a tiny amount of activity, physical or mental, causes a delayed collapse that can last days or even weeks. Not immediately, but often hours later or the next day. For example, you might do something simple, a phone call or a small walk, and feel okay at the time, and then the next day you can't get out of bed. In fibromyalgia, flares do happen after activity, but for many of us they are much more immediate. For me, if I go shopping, I might get home, take off my coat and then crash. It's within hours, not days. That delay and the severity of the crash is what makes ME/CFS pacing much stricter. And that difference becomes important later when we talk about how to manage each condition. So when it comes to diagnosis, clarity really helps. Before you even see your doctor, here's what you need to observe and write down. How quickly you crash after activity, what your worst fatigue days look like, how long your recovery takes, whether your crash is immediate or delayed, whether dizziness or lightheadedness shows up, any temperature swings you're having, your common triggers, and any patterns across the week. Orthostatic issues like the dizziness and heart issues are classic in ME/CFS. They do appear in fibro, but far less commonly. I'll be honest, when I was researching for this video, I realised I'm having those types of symptoms and I hadn't properly connected that before. Dizziness when standing, my heart racing when I get up. But it's not something I've paid much attention to, as I was diagnosed with long COVID too, and I put it down to that. But these can be symptoms and signs of POTS too, and that is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which affects about 25 to 50% of people with ME/CFS, and some are saying about 20% of people with long COVID and fibromyalgia as well. So this would explain why standing becomes such a challenge for us. So noting these patterns and writing them down helps your doctor understand what's going on and helps them make a clearer diagnosis. If you'd like help tracking your symptoms before speaking to your GP, I've put together a small companion workbook that you can use to take you through this process. There's a full week of tracking pages in there, so you can build a really clear picture before speaking to your doctor. The link is in the description and pinned comment below. So now let's look specifically at how each condition is diagnosed and what doctors will look at. So in fibromyalgia, there's a widespread pain index, and doctors will take that into account, and you've got to hit a certain score. And then there's the symptom severity score as well. You need to have pain across multiple regions and symptoms for at least 3 months before you can be diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And you can have fibromyalgia even if everything else hasn't been ruled out, because you can have it on top of other conditions. In ME and CFS, they look at whether severe fatigue has lasted for 6 months or more. So you need to have PEM as well, that post-exertional malaise of quite a severe nature. You have sleep that doesn't refresh and cognitive impairment. And often you might have those orthostatic intolerance symptoms as well. This really is a diagnosis of exclusion with ME/CFS because they will rule out all the other causes first. And as you can see, there's no data to fill in like the WPI or the SSS forms that they would do in fibromyalgia. So it's a little bit more on your own account, which is why the tracker is so important for you to use before seeing your doctor, or even if you're going to go and see your doctor again, just to confirm your diagnosis. Now, these criteria may sound similar, but the differences lie in that PEM and the dominant symptom, which is pain in fibromyalgia and fatigue in ME/CFS. Now, despite all the confusion, the management for fibro versus ME/CFS is actually quite different. Fibro responds well to gentle, consistent movement, like stretching, slow, supported mobility, light strengthening exercises, nervous system regulation, stress reduction, and occasional medications like duloxetine, pregabalin, etc. It's never about pushing through with fibromyalgia, but gentle movement does help pain in fibro. ME/CFS needs much stricter pacing. Avoiding crashes is crucial. Rest periods need to be longer, and activity needs to be much smaller. So gentle mobility only when you are stable. Graded exercise is no longer recommended. That's when you sort of increase every week or every few weeks. And you need support, particularly for those orthostatic issues and sensory management as well. These two approaches are not interchangeable. And this is one of the biggest reasons people need clarity. So managing these conditions is quite different. I've often wondered if I have fibro and CFS or fibro or CFS. So now let's look at why so many of us feel like we have both. Fibro can come with severe fatigue. ME/CFS can come with chronic pain. And symptoms in both conditions can shift over time. It can feel that you're battling lots of different conditions and also You can be confused about what is actually going on. So if you feel like you're sitting at the crossroads, you probably are. Many people do. These conditions are nebulous, they're unclear and muddled up, and they don't fit neatly into boxes. So it can be confusing for us. However, the science is still evolving and moving forward. Hopefully we'll get more clarity on this in the future. So now I want to talk about what actually helps you feel better day to day, no matter what the diagnosis. The diagnosis is important because it gets you the support, the information, treatment options, and reassurance from the right medical departments. So use the diagnosis to guide you, but on a day-to-day basis, this is the question that helps you the most. What symptom is dominating today? Is it pain? Is it fatigue? Is it sensory overload? Is it temperature swings? Because each symptom has a different response. If it's fatigue, I stay off screens and do calming tasks. If my main symptom today is pain, I might walk or stretch gently. If it's dizziness, I'm more careful when I'm getting up and I elevate my legs. If it's sensory overload, I reduce noise and light by getting my eye mask out. The practical strategies that help fibromyalgia also help ME/CFS. Just adapt those strategies to the symptom that's loudest each day. And this is the part that people rarely say clearly, to focus on that one main symptom per day. We're dealing with conditions where the research is still catching up. Doctors know something, researchers know a little bit more often. And what we learn from each other day to day is often the most valuable of all. The overlaps in these conditions are huge. The distinctions are subtle but important. And your own experience is a perfectly valid guide. So on that note, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which symptom dominates your day more, pain or fatigue? And how do you deal with it? Your experiences help others feel less alone, and they help us all learn together. And if you'd like help understanding symptoms or finding practical ways to feel better day to day, I've linked my full fibromyalgia playlist here. Choose whatever video feels right for you next. So until next time, take care of yourself and be well.